Okay, good morning to all of my dear viewers. In today's session, we are going to discuss a very important topics of forensic medicines, and the name of topics is autopsy. Okay, so what is the meaning of this autopsy? Basically, this autopsy is made up of two words. One is the auto and another is opis. So what is the meaning of these two words? Auto means self, opis means I will see. So overall meaning of autopsy is to see with one's own eyes. What is the meaning of autopsy? To see with one's own eyes. So this is the exact meaning of autopsy, to see with one's own eyes. Okay. So now after there are some other names of autopsy. We also call it as a post-mortem examination. I mean the examination of dead bodies after the death of a person. It is also called necropsy. So these are the some other names of autopsy. So after discussion about the word autopsy, now we are going to discuss the objective of autopsy. I mean in which condition or why we perform or conduct the autopsy. So major purpose to conduction of autopsy is to determine the cause of death. The major purpose to conduct the autopsy is to determine the cause of death. So basically there are the three causes of the death. One is the immediate, and another is the intermediate, and the third is the underlying cause. So what is the meaning of this immediate, intermediate and the underlying cause of death? Immediate cause of death means it is the end or the terminal stage of any injury or the illness. For example, respiratory failure, cardiogenic shock, this is the end stages. So when anything represents the end or terminal stage of any injury or the illness, it is called immediate cause of the death. Okay, so after the discussion of this immediate cause of death, the next steps is the intermediates. Intermediate means, according to the name, it is the intermediate between two things. So here the two things is, one is the underlying cause and another is the immediate cause. So basically this intermediate cause is the intermediate between the underlying cause and the immediate cause. So what is the underlying cause? Underlying cause is the first events of cause of death. Okay, so we try to understand these things with the help of very beautiful examples. Let's suppose in case of road traffic accident, a person is suffer from a head injury. So after suffering from the head injury, there is the cerebral edema, and after the developments of the cerebral edema, finally there is the respiratory failures and death of the person will occurs. So here what happens? The first event is the what? Head injury. So here the head injury is the first event, and the first event we call it as underlying cause. So after the head injury, the next steps is the next event is what? Cerebral edema, formation of the cerebral edema. So this formation of cerebral edema is the intermediate stages. On the third stage is the, due to the cerebral edema, there is the respiratory failure. So respiratory failure is the immediate cause. So three things will happen. First, there is the head injury, which comes under the underlying cause. Then there is the formation of cerebral edema, which is the intermediate cause, and the third is the respiratory failure, which is the immediately cause. So this all about the cause of death. We can also this autopsy is also useful for determine the time since death, manner of death, like a person is died due to the homicidal, accidental, natural death, or any some other cause. So this explain the manner of death, time since death, cause of death. We also it is beneficial for the what viability, to determine the viability period of the dead fetus, and preservation of the organs by using initial reconstruction the crime scenes. So these all are the objectives of the autopsy. So after discussion the objective of autopsy, now we move towards the types of autopsy. So mainly there are the two types of autopsy. One is the medico-legal autopsy and another is the pathological autopsy. So in case of medico-legal autopsy, it is conducted by the Department of Forensic Medicines, and it is a complete autopsy. Why we called it as a complete autopsy? Because in this medico-legal autopsy, we examine the whole body with all of the organs present in the body. So that's why it is called a complete autopsy, conducted by forensic departments. And after the death of any person, in case of unnatural death, their body is the property of the state. So if their body is the property of the state, in case of the medico-legal autopsy, there is no any need of consent taking from their relatives. So this is all about the medico-legal autopsy. The next is the pathological autopsy. In pathological autopsy, it is conducted by the Department of Pathology when the relative give consent for the conduction of autopsy. It is a partial autopsy. Why it is called a partial autopsy? Because in this pathological autopsy, we conduct autopsy only for a selected organ to find the desirable cause of the any disease. So after the discussion of two main types of the autopsy, one is the medico-legal autopsy and another is the pathological autopsy. There are some more types of autopsy will also. One of the autopsy is the physiological autopsy, not physiological, it is the psychological autopsy. So in case of the psychological autopsy, we try to find the mental status of a dead person by asking questions from their relatives or the neighbors. So this is the type of a psychological autopsy. Okay, then one more autopsy is the digital autopsy, or also called as the virtual autopsy. So in digital autopsy or the virtual autopsy, it is conducted by using CT scan and MRI, and there is no any incision is required. All the data are stored in the computer screen monitors, but the disadvantage is that it is very costly. The other two autopsy, one is the obscure autopsy and another is the negative autopsy. So in case of the obscure autopsy, there are some positive findings that we find after conducting the autopsy, but these positive findings are not enough or sufficient to tell us about the cause or the manner of death. For example, if any person having contusion, abrasion and laceration, so these are some positive findings, but they are not sufficient to tell us about the cause or the manner of death. So these types of autopsy is considered as the obscure autopsy. The last autopsy is the negative autopsy. So in case of a negative autopsy, everything is the negative. All the laboratory examination, pathological examination, medico-legal examination, all are negative. So if everything are negatives, we call such types of autopsy is the negative autopsy. This is because the relatives they not give the proper information or proper history about the person. So that's why the all reports will come negatives. So after discussing all these things, now we move toward the reading section. So we start the word autopsy. Auto means self and opus means I will see. So overall the meaning of autopsy is I will see one's own eyes. Also called post-mortem examination, examination of dead bodies after the death. Objective of autopsy to determine the cause of death. It may be immediate, intermediate and the underlying cause. Immediate means final or the terminal stage of any injury or the complication. Example respiratory failure, cardiogenic shocks. The next is the intermediate, which include it is the intermediate between the underlying cause and the immediate cause. For example, death of a person is pneumonia leading to responsible respiratory failure. Okay, so if any person first develops pneumonia and this pneumonia leading to the respiratory failure, so here the respiratory failure is the immediate cause and the pneumonia is the intermediate cause. Okay, so with the help of example road traffic accident, there is the head injury which act as the underlying cause, cerebral edema intermediate cause, and the respiratory failure which is the immediate cause. The second thing is we can identify the manner of death. It may be the homicidal, natural, accidental, or the suicidals. The third thing is to identify the unknown dead bodies by using the fingerprints, dental examination, identification mark like that. To find the time since death, viability of the dead fetus, to collect and preserve the evidence in NaCl solution, and the reconstruction of the crime scene. So this is all about the objectives of the autopsy. Okay, so after discussion the objectives of autopsy, now we move towards the types of autopsy. One is the medico legal autopsy, complete autopsy, no need to take the consent from the relatives. Pathological autopsy, partial autopsy, because only specific organs are taken for the autopsy, consents are taken from the relatives. Third is the psychological autopsy, to find the mental status of the person. And to how we find the mental state, ask question from the relatives and the neighbors. Virtual autopsy, also called as the digital autopsy, by using the CT scan, MRI, done in case of the highly infected dead body. Okay, like HIV person. So in case of highly infected dead bodies, we conduct the virtual autopsy, not invasive procedure, not an invasive procedure. Obscure autopsy, some positive findings, but this finding is not sufficient to tell the cause of death or the manner of death. Example, abrasion, contusion, and the laceration. Negative autopsy, when everything of the examination is negatives. This is due to the not giving proper history by the relatives. So this all about the different types of autopsy. I hope you can understand it.